Okay, welcome to Liquid Lunch. It's me, Hugh. I'm all by myself today, no co-host. I just found out, a little disappointed, but it doesn't matter because we're going to have a fantastic conversation with Anya Petrovic, who is in Toronto. She just came here from Vancouver. Before that, she was in Europe, and
before that, she was in Australia.
Yeah.
Traveling, like making 2 circles around the world each year.
Well, that's what you do,
Yeah.
right? Which is amazing. And you're doing it because you're bringing Tesla metamorphosis to the world, and now you're in Toronto, so people in Toronto have the opportunity to experience Tesla metamorphosis.
Yeah.
And
maybe to find out more about it if they haven't heard about it.
Yeah. So maybe what we should do, I know that you were here last year, and we kind of already had an interview about it, but I suspect that a lot of people who are watching this may not have seen that video and may be hearing about Tesla metamorphosis for the first time.
Yeah, and we were also talking about Tesla, but now I think everybody knows about Nikola
You know, it's weird because I remember not that long ago, because they tried to erase Tesla from history,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Literally, they tried to erase him from history. The man who invented everything modern technology is based on, from alternating current, remote control, wireless, robotica, lasers, X-rays, radio. His inventions are under names of other people, and for example, in books it says that Marconi invented radio. The Marconi lost in court in New York. He couldn't patent it because Tesla had patented it much, much earlier. And the reason is because Tesla discovered how we could use free energy, and that would take all power from their hands, and that is why his laboratory was burned to the ground, and his inventions were under names of other people. But now we have Tesla car.
Well, you have the Tesla car. There was a band in the 90s called Tesla, remember?
Yeah.
And they said they chose that name because they wanted to just reignite people's awareness of Tesla and everything that he's contributed. But you're right, he did have the free energy, right?
Yeah. And I mean, could you just imagine how the world would look if we used free energy? No pollution, no big bills for electricity, for gas, and so on and so on.
You know, I heard. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and then food would not be a problem because Tesla also said that he invented how he said you could create a lake or a river almost everywhere, and so he said that deserts could be made as a fertile land. So could you imagine how that would
Well,
work?
no, if we had free energy, then you could desalinate, which is very expensive, uses a lot of energy now to desalinate ocean water. But if you had free energy, you could turn the entire Sahara Desert into a Garden of Eden.
Yeah.
So I heard something new about Tesla, possibly.
Oh, right.
Yeah, do you want to hear?
Yeah,
So,
of course.
because his inventions were so ahead of their time, and when he died in poverty, and then the government came in and took all his papers and everything, right?
Actually, he was living on pension of Serbian king. Serbian king was paying for a New Yorker hotel.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But there are some information. I mean, internet is great because we can find a lot of information, but we never know 100% what is the real information. But according to some information on Camelot Project or Project Camelot website.
Right.
There was an interview with the guy, I just can't recall the name, who made a biography of one of Hitler's bodyguards. And according to this story, Hitler's bodyguard and another guy, they killed Tesla to steal anti-gravity sources project and project for this ray, which Tesla called the ray of peace, and now they call it the death ray.
Death ray.
Yeah, Tesla invented this laser. That is what they use now in Star Wars, you know. And he wanted to go to Geneva and suggest that to prevent Second World War, because he said that even the smallest country would be able to produce it and to defeat itself. And so, according to this story, they killed him to take those two projects. And I know that according to some other information, when FBI went into his room, the safe was open.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
What
and
year?
And
Sorry.
this guy had a lot of photographs that were given to him. You know, this Hitler's bodyguard gave him a shoebox full of photographs. So in his book, there are photos. So that is telling that maybe this information is correct.
Yes. And what year did Tesla die? Do you recall?
Sorry?
What year did Tesla die?
1943.
43.
Yes.
During the war.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
In January.
So they had, I mean, I know the Nazis were working on a lot of very advanced technology. I think they had anti-gravity, possibly. They had
Yeah,
flying
well, there are
saucers.
some stories that they have anti-gravity, but I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, who knows?
there
for
is
sure.
some. I think the main problem with understanding Tesla, many scientists are trying to understand how he thought, because, for example, we know how the radio works, but there are some parts of the story that are still not clear to scientists. And for example, there's waves that we now call Tesla waves. Tesla called them non-Hertzian waves, and he explained that those waves are different from Hertzian, not just in frequency, but also in their structure and form, that they are multidimensional, and that they are in the domain of a new physics. So he was beyond this, what we know in physics nowadays. Also, he was very much against Einstein's theory, and he said that he was working with frequencies that are 60 times faster than light. So recently they have discovered that there are some particles faster than light a few years ago, and then there were stories in newspapers how Einstein's theory was wrong, but and then they stopped talking about that. And whenever we watch a program about science, we see Einstein's hairstyle and Einstein's face.
Well, I think Einstein even admitted that Tesla was
Oh, well, when journalists asked him how does the most clever man in the world feel, or something like this, he said, I don't know, ask Mr. Tesla.
Yeah, I mean, I think some people think even that because Tesla's, okay, I'm going to tell you my story, okay? So here's what happened. So now this is new information that just came to me. So you remember or are you aware of the Tunguska?
Yeah.
Tunguska, right? Which was
Tungusia.
a big explosion
Yeah.
in Russia in
Yeah.
1908,
Yeah.
and which is kind of a mystery. They
Right.
just it was so remote, nobody got killed, and they took them 20 years to send out.
Yeah, but they couldn't discover how it happened.
Right, they theorized
And
maybe a meteorite.
apparently Tesla was looking for maps of this area before that and so on. But I'm not 100% sure whether the story...
But here's the story, how Tesla's involved is that some are now theorizing that he had a technology to beam power, right? He had at the time the Wardenclyffe Tower in Long Island, and some say that Tunguska explosion was actually Tesla. Came from the Wardenclyffe Tower. He was there was a polar explorer at the time, I don't recall who, trying to hit the North Pole. Tesla was somehow involved, was trying to send him a signal, and some are saying now that the Tunguska explosion was actually Tesla sent that. It was going to be a signal at the North Pole, but he overshot it, went too far, and it ended up that was the Tunguska explosion, which actually...
But there are many things that we can just guess about Tesla, and also about Philadelphia experiment. Where he literally moved the boat from one dimension to the other and back. That was in Second World War when he was working with American Navy. But then when they wanted to put Marines on the boat, Tesla didn't want to go forward unless they he had an option so that each Marine should have a special bracelet so that he could adjust the frequency of each individual Marine and bring them safely back from another dimension. But they didn't bother to, supply those bracelets, and Tesla didn't want to proceed with the experiment. But according to this, what I know, Newman and Einstein, how do you pronounce his name? They made an experiment. They made that experiment with Marines and with machinery that Tesla left behind, because Tesla was already dead. Tesla died in January, and as far as I know, sometime in November the same year, they made that experiment. And some Marines were frozen, some were burned, and some were mixed with the boat. They couldn't separate them from the boat. Yeah. So there are many, many things. They say Tesla was in front of his time. He was advanced for our time as well.
Oh, yeah. So let me here's this is the big thing about Tunguska. So they, and so the theory is that basically they took Tesla's technology and they've been experimenting with it since they took all his research after he died in 43 or whatever. And they're finding the same evidence in crop circles, in 9/11, and in the Tunguska, in the ground where Tunguska was. They're finding these iron micro beads in the soil, and they're saying that it looks like this is evidence that the same technology is being used in all three of those things, 9/11, crop circles. And so I'm thinking now maybe the crop circles, which first came to our awareness in the late 80s, early 90s, maybe they're experimenting with some kind of Tesla technology, and then...
Maybe, or some people believe that those are aliens trying to pass a message. I really don't know, but that's really a phenomenon that interests me, but I'm not knowledgeable enough about it.
Yeah, but it's very interesting. So maybe somebody's got some Tesla technology that is
Right.
not part of the mainstream culture, and maybe they've weaponized it. So of course the bad guys get a hold of this stuff.
Yeah, well, the problem with science is that many things are discovered for the betterment of humanity, and then the same inventions were misused. So, unfortunately, many of Tesla's. Also, Tesla insisted that all machines should be at the frequency that is healthy for living beings. And now we are experiencing that the radiation of mobile phones and other instruments are actually not healthy for human beings. So,
And even I don't
and
know.
that was one of the arguing with Einstein. Tesla's arguing with Einstein was that science is its own perversion if it is not for the betterment of humanity.
Well, we're certainly talking about today. We're talking about using some of Tesla's. It's not technology,
No, it's
though.
not
No, is it? It's not
technology.
technology. Although you've mentioned Tesla waves and non-Hertzian waves, we're going to talk about a little bit about that. But why don't you give us a little bit of an introduction to Tesla metamorphosis?
Yeah, well, when we talked about Tesla waves, that is why we have that privilege to have Tesla's name in the name of a healing modality, because we can access those Tesla waves. And as I said, Tesla didn't call them Tesla waves, he called them non-Hertzian waves. And the difference among modalities is not in how we wave our hands or where we place our hands. The difference is in what frequencies of energy we can access. And in other words, what levels of consciousness we can access. So Tesla was genius because he was spiritual. He was aware that energy is not just a mechanical movement of particles. He was aware that he was dealing with consciousness, with this universal consciousness that nowadays they call the field, and he used to call it active ether. Now they wanted to erase the word ether as well. But so, have you heard about Swami Vivekananda?
Yes.
Right. Well, there was mutual respect between Swami Vivekananda and Nikola Tesla, and after visiting Tesla's laboratory, Swami wrote a letter to his colleague in India where he wrote that in different colors of light in Tesla's laboratory, he could see Shiva and Vishnu and all their gods, and he also wrote that Tesla communicated with his energy, giving it orders. So,
Swami Vivekananda's?
Swami Vivekananda wrote a letter to his colleague after visiting Tesla's laboratory. And he said that Tesla was giving orders to his electricity. So he was aware that energy is consciousness.
Okay.
Energy is not just a mechanical movement of particles. And that is why Tesla said, the day science begins to study non-physical phenomena, it'll make more progress in 1 decade than in all previous centuries of its existence. So that is why he also, when he wrote about those non-Hertzian waves in Canadian patterns, he underlined that they are in the domain of a new physics.
Right.
Yeah, so that's a bit confusing.
Well, what I'm just thinking here is that it just seems that we're kind of stuck as a culture in the sense that we have environmental issues. We're still burning oil
Yeah.
for our energy. It just seems so primitive, so harmful and destructive. And if
Yeah,
Tesla
we are
was-
actually the only beings on Earth that are destroying their own habitat,
yeah, but
and we think that we are special.
well, if it's crazy though that if we do have this technology that
Yeah.
Tesla came up with, or this whole new approach, it's really like a paradigm, right, about how we approach life, how we approach the world. And I'm trying to wrap my head around what you just said around we need to approach non-physical,
Yeah.
and I don't know even how to begin to think about doing that.
Right. And well, when I talk about Tesla metamorphosis, I also don't know how I'm doing that. But for me, my life had changed completely since Tesla happened to me.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how all the time something new is happening. Now on the screen we have just Tesla amplifier with extra coil in the corner, which radiates those Tesla waves. And you can notice that identical waves, identical purple color that presents those Tesla waves on PIP camera images is present during the session of Tesla metamorphosis. That is like colorful on white, that we can access those Tesla waves.
Mm-hmm.
That is what this picture presents.
So in the upper left corner, we see, what is that, a Tesla coil?
Tesla coil, which he called Tesla amplifier with extra coil. And this coil was reconstructed by engineer Goran Marjanovic. He followed instructions from Tesla's notes. And this amplifier radiates those waves that we now call Tesla waves. And
The
Tesla non-Hertzian waves. Yeah, and he wrote that, among other things, as paradoxical as it could sound, they get stronger with the distance. So that's also different from Hertzian waves, because Hertzian waves are losing strength with the distance. But then waves, when we talk about waves and energy, we always think about energy in the meanings of what we learned in physics. But what I realized working with Tesla metamorphosis and doing more research about Tesla is that when we talk about energy healing, we are talking about our interaction with this universal consciousness, which we can call the field. Tesla used to call it activator, or you can call it God, or choose your name. And we, each of us, we are undividable part of this universal consciousness. And depending on our consciousness level, we can access different levels of consciousness.
Well, that's what we need to do.
Right.
So,
But Tesla metamorphosis, no, more people actually get interested in Tesla metamorphosis because of healing results. When people have health problems, that's like the main thing. And when we talk about Tesla metamorphosis, our clients report healing from many illnesses that are labeled as incurable, like cancer, AIDS, chronic fatigue syndrome. They even report sometimes healings from birth deformities and physically damaged spine. And I mentioned last time as well, if you go to TeslaMetamorphosis.com website, you can hear a mother of 21-year-old girl who had birth deformity. One side of her rib cage was much smaller and indent. And she says how the doctor of her daughter was amazed how only in 2 months, since he saw her previously, this side of the rib cage developed to be equal to the other side, and her spine was almost completely straight. So, and there are also other cases, not just my clients, but clients of other practitioners of Tesla metamorphosis experience all different healings. So that is what people are interested about. But also another aspect of Tesla metamorphosis is the effect of Tesla waves on human consciousness. And I think that this is even more important than healings. Sometimes it seems to me as if we got those amazing healings as donkey or carrot to be focused towards something that is even more important, and that's the evolution of consciousness. But I will return to healing again, because I know when I talk about such healings like birth deformities or physically damaged spine or healings, people very often simply cannot believe that or think that this is magic, this is,
Well, it's a miracle is what it is.
Miracle,
really,
yeah.
right? But we hear about miracles.
Yeah, but
Everybody
actually,
wants a miracle.
Yeah, but actually miracles don't exist. It is just a question whether something what is natural at certain stage we are capable to understand and explain, or we are not capable to understand and explain. And when I was writing this book, I was working on finding explanations for those things that people call miracles.
Mm-hmm.
And among other things, when we, for example, talk about this birth deformity that was reconstructed, I came across Dr. Pyotr Garyaev. He's a contemporary scientist, and he's a member of Russian Academy of Science and New York Academy of Science. And he did research on DNA, and he discovered that our DNA follows some rules similar to the rules of human language. Somehow he calls it biological grammar and syntax. And in his experiments, he managed to get a salamander lizard from an embryo frog just by changing the information, without any surgical intervention, without cutting out or replacing a single gene. And that is why he states that there is new medicine, energy medicine, where our DNA can be influenced and reprogrammed by frequencies of energy. And when we go back to this, what I was talking about, that energy is consciousness. So when we go, for example, on back to this case where the girl had birth deformity of her rib cage, according to this, what Dr. Pyotr Garyaev talks about, her DNA received the information how a healthy rib cage and lungs should be, and they developed.
Mm-hmm.
But the worst thing was I wasn't doing anything clever. I was just waving my hands.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
want to, now, you're going to be teaching, you're in Toronto, you're going to
Yeah.
be at the Whole Life Expo
Right.
over the weekend,
Yes,
starting Friday night.
yes.
Uh,
Booth 31, so
And I'm going to
come and
see you, because I'm
visit.
coming down there on Saturday. And, but you're also going to be speaking at the Whole Life Expo on Sunday
Yes,
at 1:45
yes.
in Lecture Hall 201D. So
Yeah.
people can come and hear you speak all
Yes.
about Tesla metamorphosis.
Right, and also ask questions. And at the booth, they will be able to feel the frequencies and maybe ask some questions inspired by this, what we are talking about. They could also buy the book
Right.
at the booth.
And then you're going to be here, you're going to be here for a couple of weeks.
Yeah,
So you're going to be teaching introduction to Tesla metamorphosis
here in this studio.
right here at ThatChannel.
Yes,
That's next Friday, November 16th, 7 p.m. So people watching here can actually come down to that channel, have a free.
yeah, that's free, so everybody is welcome. It's open for general public.
Yeah.
Students are coming. I mean, those who are attending the seminar, they have to come, but others are also welcome.
Yeah.
And then even you can, somebody might decide at the Friday night to continue with the seminar.
And I'm just going to mention, you're not just giving the introduction
Yes.
to Tesla metamorphosis. You're
That
also
is
going
on
to be
Friday night, the
Right.
16th at 7
and
p.m.
then all weekend. But also you're going to be teaching the Tesla's Metamorphosis 2 course, which is Tesla Soul Communication.
Yes. Yeah, and that is what I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
Not just about the seminar, but about Tesla Soul Communication, because that is where I think we demonstrate the fact that Tesla waves elevate human consciousness. And this video, these photos that we had with auras of students, what is happening? I don't know. You're familiar with PIP camera? That's the invention of Dr. Harry Oldfield from London, and this camera is more precise than Killian camera because different frequencies of energy are presented in different colors and different codes in the computer. Oh,
Yeah.
that's my aura.
That's you?
Yes, you see, my aura is a bit fat. When I asked Dr. Professor Lyubo Ristovsky, who made those photos, where is my circle?
Yeah.
And he said, I don't know, maybe it's in this suburb or maybe it's in this city. So you see, my aura got a little bit fat, but there are also other auras.
Yeah, let's see, just compare that to maybe one of the other images there. So you see the different colors.
Yeah, yeah. So you see, all of them have those purple colors in their auras.
Yeah.
So their auras, the auras of students were photographed before and after Tesla Metamorphosis 1
Do
seminar.
we have a before and after here? Is that the before or the after?
Now, all those that we are looking at are after.
These are the afters.
Yeah, and what was interesting, those photos are showing that there was significant change in their energy frequency and in their consciousness frequency. I already mentioned Swami Vivekananda, because Tesla once said that teaching of Swami Vivekananda is the only theory that could entertain modern science. I decided to attend classes of teachings of Swami Vivekananda, Vedanta, to maybe find out what Tesla meant when he was saying that.
So what did he say again?
That he's teaching that Vedanta, or some aspects of Vedanta, are the only theory that could and his wording was entertain modern science, be the base of a modern science.
These were the teachings of Swami
Vivekananda.
Vivekananda. Okay.
Yeah. And so when I attended those classes, I learned that yogis had a special meditation which had a purpose, or they still have it, of elevating consciousness. And this meditation starts from basic chakra, which is red, up to the 7 main chakras, and finishes with crown chakra, which is purple in color.
Mm-hmm.
And Swami, who was teaching us, he said that not every yogi would manage to reach the level of crown chakra,
Mm-hmm.
but it seems that those Tesla waves simultaneously bring us Westerners who are not so disciplined as yogis to the level of crown chakra. Because what is happening in Tesla's soul communication?
Mm-hmm.
All students at the seminar, and of course the practitioners, are capable of creating communication with their client on the level of conscious, subconscious, and integrative mind, though they were not aware of such their abilities before. And, I get messages. Last time I was talking how Tesla happened to me and how I was getting messages, Tesla healing, you need to reconstruct Tesla healing. So one of the messages was to start teaching this, because I was doing it myself, but to be honest, I was arrogantly afraid, how could I teach that? Of course, I can do it, but how could I be sure that other people could do it? I can't just organize the seminar and charge for it, and what if people are not able to do it? And in some cities in Europe, I would have 60 and more students on this Tesla Metamorphosis 2 seminar, and they could be all different ages or different educational background, but each of them was capable of creating this communication. And then when I was wondering how, because, when those messages were persistent, I started teaching this. And this was the answer. When I went to classes of teaching of Vedanta, it seems that Tesla waves elevate our consciousness on the level of crown chakra. And that was the only explanation that I could find. How comes that all students, all of the sudden, are capable of creating communication with other person that might be on the other side of the world, mm-hmm. on the level of conscious, subconscious, and integrative mind. And that I'm always again and again fascinated on these seminars when, for example, one of the exercises at the seminar is that each student brings a photo of somebody who needs healing and whom he or she knows well enough to give a feedback. And those photos are mixed, and each person works with somebody whom he or she doesn't know, and writes down everything what comes through this communication. And the purpose of this, it's not a reading, mm-hmm. It's not about telling future or finding out what neighbor thinks of me or whether my partner is cheating on me or something like this. It is about healing. Because, all of us, we have something that we don't like to think about, that we want to forget. And what happens, then we pack it nicely, put a ribbon on, and push it on in our subconscious mind. But the problem is that it works from there, It affects our reactions. So sometimes we react and we're like, oh, why did I react that way? Or what is even worse, it affects our health. And in psychology and psychiatry, by the way, I'm a psychologist as well, we use free associations and hypnotherapy to help people to bring that stuff from subconscious to the conscious level, because once it is on the conscious level, they could overcome the problem and heal the problem, solve the problem. And so Tesla Soul Communication has the same purpose, only I find it even more effective because here we can get to the results much faster and easier. And also both free associations and hypnotherapy, they reach to the level of subconscious mind. And in Tesla Metamorphosis, sometimes we could reach the level of integrative mind, which is soul level. And that means that even karmic healing can be reached.
Which kind? Karmic healing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like karma.
Right.
Yeah. So as I said, one of the exercises is that every student brings a photo and works with somebody he doesn't know, and then receives feedback from the person who brought the photo. And in the class, there is always a lot of excitement when people realize that there are no doubts that they were communicating with this particular person from the photo, because you can recognize the style of this person even by words and all other things.
Well, you're going to be teaching not only that, the level 2 course, the Tesla Soul Communication, but while you're still in Toronto, from the 23rd to the 25th, you'll be doing the Tesla Light Body
Metamorphosis.
Right.
Yeah, metamorphosis means transformation. Well, Tesla Light Body Metamorphosis, you see, all three seminars are completely different.
Mm-hmm.
In Tesla Metamorphosis 1, I teach something that might look like a technique. Yeah, I am showing, how we could move hands and so on. But it's beyond technique, because that what I'm teaching is more to help people to feel the frequencies and to learn to play with them.
Mm-hmm.
And when they finish the seminar, they don't have to repeat all the movements, and there are no rules like, you do this first and then that first, like in Reiki position 1, 2, 3, and so on. So I like to say in Tesla Metamorphosis 1, the rule is that there are no rules. Mm-hmm. In Tesla Metamorphosis 2, there are some rules. But in Tesla Metamorphosis 3, we do something very precise. We draw the lines on the body and activate points on the body. And this Tesla Light Body Metamorphosis session has the purpose of helping people to reach their potentials, their optimal blueprint. It's about their personal growth on physical, mental, emotional, spiritual level.
To be the very best they can be.
Yeah.
In all ways.
Yeah, or to awaken some arts and talents that maybe they had in some parallel or previous life and now are neglected. Or I had experiences when people had this Tesla Light Body Metamorphosis that they report that they feel how they've changed, and then other people notice that they have changed, and then people change in communication with them as well, and also they report changing partners, job, place where they live.
It's like making that breakthrough that because people often find they're in the, sort of a rut or a groove, or they always have the same kinds of experiences.
They get the courage to make a change.
To make those breakthroughs, really break through that.
And whenever I talk about that, I always remember one professor from university who said, "Oh, all of the sudden I became the most popular prof on the uni." And even to myself, my lectures seem more inspiring than ever before. And when I was in Zagreb just recently, then one scientist came to me and said, "Look, I was looking for the solution for 10 years and I couldn't find it, and now I found it. And he was writing down and drawing, and I was looking at it. I didn't understand anything, but obviously it was something very important.
So obviously, this is the opportunity for people in Toronto. You're only here for a couple of weeks, but you're teaching all 3 levels of the courses. One of them, the introduction session here at ThatChannel, November 16th, is free, starting at 7 p.m.
Yes.
And people can see you at the Whole Life Expo.
Yes.
All weekend long, starting tomorrow night.
I will be there.
Booth 31.
Booth 31.
And we're going to see you there. So I guess.
And also we'll have a massage table so they could even experience. It's not the same when you have a real session in the peace and silence, but anyway, they could experience those frequencies, because in the session people can have all different experiences, from being just relaxed. Some are just relaxed, but some can tell you old films as if they were on a planet different from planet Earth, or they were in the universe, or they heard music, old orchestras, or smell perfumes, or very interesting stories sometimes we can hear from clients after the session.
Okay. So now what should we tell people to do? How do they sign up to come here for the free session?
Well, if you go to Tesla Metamorphosis website and then you just click register next to Introduction to Tesla Metamorphosis, then you can just sign in. But if you miss to do that, we'll accept you anyway.
Yeah, and so people can go to the Whole Life Expo and see you speak this Sunday, November 11th, 1:45, Lecture Hall 201D. And I guess we'll be seeing a fair bit of you over the next couple of weeks, Anya.
Thank you.
So we're gonna explore some Tesla metamorphosis.
Well,
And
that
of course
is
you got the
what I
book.
love about this work, and that is, what drives me around. There are 3 things. First, I enjoy talking people about Nikola Tesla, because that also elevates human consciousness when we realize how we are manipulated even in science. Then I love teaching it, and I really enjoy when I see people doing it. And that's the magic, and that's the beauty of this work, that everybody can learn it. And also, there is always something new. It's always like researching. For example, I was recently, I have on my presentation some photos of some phenomena that I was in healing work for quarter century before Tesla Metamorphosis, and I have never experienced some things like colors that appeared on the wall in the hall where we were doing seminar, or people could see orbs with their naked eye. There were like 50 people in the room, and all of them were could see the orbs, and so on. And just recently, when I was in Gold Coast in Australia, and I was doing just a demonstration of healing, and the practitioner who was hosting the seminar there, she was making photos. And on one photo, there is an object, like a tiny flying saucer, or I don't know, and a light that comes in a very strange shape. Like if it was a lamp, it would be like this, and we don't know what it is because there was nothing on the wall there. You know, there is another photo where you see the empty wall, and then on the next photo. So this is why it's exciting. There is always something new.
All right, so people watching this right now can go to the website teslametamorphosis.com, register, they can come see you, buy the book. This is a rare opportunity. I think you were here last year, and now's the time for people who are intrigued by this to get more information, maybe even become a Tesla Metamorphosis practitioner. So Anya, great to see you again.
I always like seeing you and talking to you.
Yeah. So we'll be seeing more of you, and everyone out there can come down here to the studios and experience and discover Tesla Metamorphosis.
Yeah, we'll have a demonstration of healing here on Friday night,
Next
the
Friday.
16th. Yeah,
Okay, great. Okay, thanks for doing this today.
not next, but the following Friday.
Not tomorrow, but a week from tomorrow.
Right.
Yeah, the 16th. Okay, thanks, Anya. Okay, we're going to take a little break here on Liquid Lunch. We got lots more coming up, so stay tuned. We'll be right back, ThatChannel.com.